Greetings. Back with another one. The Street Fighter film is upon us. I saw the original trailer that came out, and I didn't really know what to make of it. It was very colorful, and my impression of it was just I really think that this film is just gonna pay homage to the games in terms of the output of just the moves and stuff like that. I think they're just gonna throw in a lot of moves in there, the special maneuvers that we all love and know. And I'm not gonna really get into much of the casting choice because whatever they give us, I can deal with it. But I'm really set on what the layout or what the story is gonna be. And so yeah, I have this video by IGN Theater, and hopefully they can get us to the gist of what the outline of the story is going to be. Let's get this one started.
If you're a fan of seeing iconic fighting game franchises on the big screen, then 2026 is truly your year. Not only is Warner Bros. Releasing the second film in its rebooted Mortal Kombat series, we're also getting a brand new Street Fighter movie, courtesy of Paramount Pictures and Legendary Entertainment. Hollywood has tried and failed to adapt this colorful franchise in the past, but will the third time be the charm? Well, it can't be any worse than 2009's Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. We've finally gotten our first good look at Street Fighter thanks to a new trailer released during CinemaCon 2026, and if there's any one takeaway from this footage, it's that Street Fighter looks like a whole lot of fun. It even opens with the countdown timer sound effects from the games. Could we be looking at the best fighting game movie since 1995's Mortal Kombat? For now, let's break down all the characters we meet in the...
I like both Mortal Kombat films. I know a lot of people probably didn't like Annihilation, but I liked it. I enjoyed both films for what they were. There was stuff that I liked better in Annihilation. There was stuff that I liked better in the first one. It was a give and take for me. I don't really put one film over the other. I know a lot of people probably like the first one better, which is fine. But I like them both. I mean, I would say that the only thing that I would take out of the second film was all of the animality stuff. I thought that didn't really need to be in there. But I like how the stakes were higher, and I liked the final battle at the end. I thought it was cool. It was just certain things that I liked about the second one more, and there were certain things. In Mortal Kombat, Shang Tsung is my favorite character. He was always been my main. And the late Kerry Tagawa, he did a phenomenal job as Shang Tsung. I really think that he was the one that kind of carried the first film. Him and Christopher Lambert. Even though I really didn't care for Christopher Lambert's rating, I thought that James Remar's rating was better. That's just my personal opinion, but yeah, there were just certain things that I liked about the second one more, and I like them both. That's just me. And even though the Super Mario film, I like the Super Mario film. This may be controversial, but I like the Super Mario film. I thought it was a fun film. I love how it was kind of like an urban setting and stuff like that with the Mario and Luigi. Even though the late Bob Hoskins and was it John Leguizamo and stuff like that. I thought it was funny. I thought it was fun, and it was just a different change of pace to see Mario. If that was a film that didn't have the Super Mario IP attached to it, and it was just some regular film with just plumbers trying to fight thugs in the city, stuff like that, I think people wouldn't have been as critical about it. But I just thought it was cool. I thought it was fun that when I was a kid, man, the Super Mario film, because it was just funny to see Mario and Luigi in the urban type of light. They're plumbers, really. Until they go into the Mushroom Kingdom, but they're plumbers. So I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun. That was just me. And the Double Dragon film, I remember seeing that back in the day. It was cool. It was cool. I didn't hate it. There was a lot of video game films back in the day that I did not mind. But I will say Mortal Kombat was probably the best of them all. But it was other ones that I enjoyed that I didn't mind seeing.
The trailer and how they fit together in this epic tale of guys and gals beating the snot out of each other.
Sit down.
Street Fighter may feature an ensemble cast of fighters pulled from all over the globe, but the trailer makes it pretty clear that this story will revolve heavily around Noah Centineo's Ken Masters and Andrew Koji's Ryu. We're not surprised, as this dynamic duo tends to be the focus in most incarnations of the Street Fighter franchise. Ken and Ryu have been there from the beginning. They were the only playable characters in the original Street Fighter game from 1987, and they've been series mainstays ever since. In the games, Ken and Ryu are lifelong friends who both trained under the same master, Guken. That's why they wear different color variations of the same martial arts uniform. But whereas Ryu is totally dedicated to perfecting his fighting craft, we'll focus more on Ryu in a bit, but for now, let's dig in with Ken.
You win!
The trailer reveals that the game is set in 1993, which seems to be an intentional nod to the original era of Street Fighter Mania.
Now, I like that. I like that it's a period piece. I like that the film is going to be taking place in the 90s. Because the 1990s, that's when Street Fighter really, blossomed and blew up, Street Fighter, the first Street Fighter, I believe, came out 87. I believe it came out with 87, the year I was born. Shows you how old I am. But I think it came out in the late 80s, and then, Street Fighter 2 and then Turbo and all those things came out in the 90s and stuff like that. But I like that. I like that it's a period piece and it takes place in the 90s. I thought that was a good decision to make.
In the early 90s. We can see from this footage that Ken has become a bit of a celebrity, even hosting his own show on MTV.
What's up, MTV? I'm Ken Masters.
But that fame seems to have come at a heavy price. Ken is clearly a washed-up has-been who'd rather get drunk and belt out karaoke than hone his skills as one of the world's best fighters. If anything, we notice a lot of similarities between Centinneo's Ken and Carl Urban's Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat 2. Both are world-class fighters turned celebrities who are arguably past their prime, and both will have to prove they've still got it when they enter the fighting ring. Ken features in a couple of cool Street Fighter Easter eggs in the trailer. We see him performing several iconic fighting moves from the games, including an obligatory Shoryuken punch, a rolling back throw, a Genrai kick.
You see what I'm saying? I think we're going to see a lot of that. He did the rolling throw. I think that we're just going to see a lot of that. A lot of moves that we know and love in the game, they're just going to throw in the film. And as I said once before, things from video games, from a virtual sense, they don't always translate well in a live action sense, at least to me. I mean, yeah, it's nice to see the rolling throw, but do you have to put that in there? No, you don't, but I think we're going to see a lot of that, just paying homage to the game. For example, I saw in one of the trailers, they threw the bonus stage in there where you're damaging the car. I think we're going to see a spectacle, just a lot of stuff
2023 Street Fighter 6, and axe kicking a character we assume is El Fuerte. In another shot, we see him kicking and punching
there you go
car,
right there. See,
it's just infamous bonus.
See, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, we know why they threw it in the game. It was a bonus stage, so you can earn, you can increase your score, right? So, but why throw it in the live action game? I think it's strictly just to pay homage to the game. I really do.
Levels where players try to destroy a car with their expert fighting moves.
Are you good?
Now let's turn our attention to Ken's BFF Ryu. The two characters are clearly having a bit of a relationship crisis in the movie, even as Ken has molded himself into a drunken cable TV star.
He's very colorful.
Ryu has seemingly retreated from the world and become a modern-day martial arts hermit. Ryu seems happy enough to be reunited with his old buddy, but not Ken. His first instinct when he sees Ryu is to bust out a flying kick. Ryu is the closest thing the Street Fighter franchise has to a main character. Again, he's a top-tier fighter obsessed with perfecting his craft, but though he's a good-natured warrior who's always eager to meet new opponents and test his skills, Ryu also harbors a secret dark side. That may explain why he's in hiding as the movie opens. Ryu may be afraid of unleashing the true power within. We get a taste of that power at the end of the trailer when we see Ryu summon one of his iconic fireballs and shout the word Hadouken. Street Fighter may be built around hand-to-hand combat, but many of the fighters have superhuman abilities they can bring to the battle. What would a Street Fighter movie be without the mighty Chun-Li joining Ryu and Ken? This time around, this deadly Chinese fighter is played by Kalina Liang. Chun-Li was introduced in 1991's Street Fighter 2 and has appeared in most of the games since. She's portrayed as a skilled warrior and Interpol agent who seeks revenge against M. Bison for the
Chun-Li has always been like a solid character. She was always one of my, favorites. But, my main, strangely enough, on the screen right now, Street Fighter is Sagat. Sagat has always been my main. He's always been my favorite character. He was introduced. He was actually a character in the very first game. I think he was the final boss in the first game. In the first game he wasn't playable or anything, but when he became a playable character in Turbo, I was hooked overnight, man. I just love playing with him. His freakish height, his reach, and just his tiger shot at the uppercut and knee and stuff like that. I just thought he was just such a cool character, so I really became infatuated playing as a guy. But I've always loved Chun-Li too. She was always one of my favorites as well. And being the only woman in the game for years until Cammy came out. I mean, obviously she stuck out. I mean, her unique fighter style, and I've always loved the Chinese kung fu and stuff like that. Just very graceful how she uses it and stuff like that. And she stuck around for so many years. Like, even when you had Street Fighter characters who were cast in different games that wasn't a Street Fighter title. You had Marvel vs. Capcom, you had SNK vs. Capcom, you had Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, and all these other games. And the Street Fighter characters that they always pick, obviously, was Ryu. They may throw Ken in there, may throw Akuma in there, may throw like a Guile. But Chun-Li was always one of those top Street Fighter characters that was always thrown into those, crossover games and stuff like that. And I can see why. She's always been a very, very solid, unique character, very graceful and stuff like that, and just very effective when you really know how to use her. How to, to plug those combos and those cancels and stuff like that. I mean, she's very effective. I mean, she's very fun to play as in the latest game. I haven't played it in a while, and I know Sagat and guys like Bison, who are another favorite of mine, were DLC characters, and I've seen how they work, but I haven't bought them because I've kind of rebelled, man, in terms of that. Like, I hate having to pay for 30-plus-year-old characters as DLC. Like, why can't they just be at launch? I hate having to pay for legendary characters, man. Like, if it was a newer character, fine, but it just. I mean, I want to play as a guy in the game. I haven't played Street Fighter, but I've been playing a lot of Tekken. But yeah, I need to get back into Street Fighter, man. And because Sagat he's always been a beast, man.
For the murder of her father. But as we know from Raul Julia's infamous rant in the original Street Fighter movie, he's killed a great many fathers over the years.
The day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
I'll say this. As much as we probably want to laugh and pick on, this film, it was just something. I mean, because it was just something about it that kept me watching. Like, obviously, like, it came out when I was a kid, so to see a motion picture that was made from that comes from a video game, I was hyped about that. I mean, this is a video game that I played for years, and then I see it in a live action movie format. And I'm like, wow. So I was blown away as a kid. So when I saw, Street Fighter film, the Mortal Kombat movies, the Super Mario movie, Double Dragon, all these movies that are based on video games, I was waiting to see a Streets of Rage one, because Streets of Rage is like one of my favorite games of all time. I was waiting to see a Streets of Rage film. We never got it, but yeah, man, I welcomed all of them because I was a kid. These are films that were based on video games that I played as a kid, so I welcomed all of it. So I mean, and sadly enough, Raul Julia, he's no longer with us. I believe that this was the last. I believe Street Fighter was his final film before he died. And as much as how humorous and silly that movie was, I think Raul Julia was the one that kind of kept it all together in a sense, in his own strange way. And I think that he really enjoyed playing Bison. I mean, in terms, you could look at the hat. It's very accurate and all that stuff. So I think that he really enjoyed playing Bison. I think he gave it his all based on the material that he was given. Of course, there was a lot of stuff in the film that made no sense, and it was kind of just all over the place. But still to this day, I'll watch it from time to time just for nostalgia reasons, because it's based on a very popular video game that I know and loved and played all my life. So yeah, like Jean-Claude, and Raul Julia, they were kind of like the heads of it. So yeah, it just, I don't want to say hate watch it, because I didn't hate the film. Was it a great, phenomenal film? No, but because it's based on Street Fighter is why I watched it. So and continue to watch it whenever it may, because YouTube and all of these other sites, they just throw free movies in there from time to time, and of course we have other sites where I watch them and stuff like that. But yeah, the Street Fighter film always had like a special place simply because it's Street Fighter, But yeah, man, rest in peace to Raul Julia, man. I loved him as an actor. I loved him in the Addams Family. That was actually the first time I saw him. He's been acting for decades before that, but I was born in the late '80s, so the Addams Family film when he played Gomez, that was the first film that I saw him in, and I loved him in that. So, props to Raul Julia.
Here, Chun-Li appears to be the catalyst that brings Ryu, Ken, and other fighters together to partake in a high-stakes martial arts tournament. Why she's seeking out these elite world warriors isn't entirely clear, but it may all be part of a plot to bring down M. Bison. What we do know
Hopefully
is
that's
that
what the
she
story
seems
should be
rather
about.
unimpressed with both Ryu and Ken. One is hiding from the world, the other is a sideshow, and neither is living up to his true potential. Chun-Li aims to fix that. The trailer drops another amusing nod to the games when Chun-Li meets Mel Janssen's Cammy, and the latter makes a comment about Chun-Li's thighs.
Everyone keeps going on about your thighs. What's going on?
I don't know why though, because we have not seen an actress that portrayed Chun-Li who is an accurate representation in terms of stature. We have not seen it, and I don't think we're ever going to see it, because the guy who designed Chun-Li, I forget his name, but the guy who designed Chun-Li, he intentionally designed her that way, which is kind of freakish, right? You know what I mean? Chun-Li has freakish thighs, man. I mean, unless you can find like an Asian woman who's like a bodybuilder. The woman that was close is a Chinese lady. She's a bodybuilder. I think her name is Yuan Horong, and they call her the real life Chun-Li because the way she's built. I mean, she's like a bodybuilder. She's built, you know. So I don't know if she's an actor or anything like that, but I don't know if she speaks English or anything like that. But you could look her up and you see pictures of her, and she's actually cosplayed as other characters, and Chun-Li was one of the players that she's cosplayed as, and she is stacked. She's built, right? I mean, honestly, she's kind of too built. I mean, she's a bodybuilder, right? I mean, Chun-Li, when you look at Chun-Li, she's not chiseled or anything like that. She just has, very, very thick thighs and stuff like that. She's still statuesque in terms of, her frame and stuff like that. It's just the thighs that really stand out. So, and Asian women don't tend to be built like that, right? So I don't know if we will ever find a real actress, an Asian actress, to portray Chun-Li unless they CGI her thighs or something like that, because I don't think it would ever be done, to be honest with you.
I don't see what picture it is.
One of the hallmarks of Chun-Li's character
look at
design
her.
from the games is her extremely muscular legs, and the movie is clearly having some fun with the fact that her reputation precedes her. We also see her put those legs to good use when she busts out a 100 lightning legs move. David Dastmalchian is playing M. Bison, the character we're assuming is the main villain of.
Hopefully he is the main villain, because who else could it be? It has to be Bison, right? So I don't know who this actor is. I don't know. I doubt that another character. I doubt that he would be. I doubt that he would be an exact representation of Bison in terms of his stature, because we all know Bison is just a genetic jacked up freak. How he is portrayed in the games and stuff like that. So, but like I said, I can get past all that. But it's just, I think that Bison should be the main villain. And here's the thing: if they just want to just like reboot the story from the original animated film, and even the live action film, the only thing that they got wrong in the live action film, they called Shadaloo a city. Shadaloo wasn't a city; it was a crime syndicate, set up by Bison. That's what it was. But if Chun-Li's motive is just to get all of these people together, or she's using, because like I said, Chun-Li's she's a detective, right? So it's maybe hopefully she uses the tournament as a way to recruit and get together all of these combatants to take down Shadaloo. If it's like that, I'll be okay with it. Because who else can be? Because then, like I said, in the story, you gotta have a villain, right? So who else can be the villain other than Bison, right? Who else?
The film. Bison is definitely one of the most important villains in the franchise, dating back to his role as the final boss of Street Fighter II. Bison is a tyrant with aims of world domination. He runs a criminal organization known as Shadaloo, one that manipulates world governments. He's also the architect of the World Warrior Tournament, hence why it's a bit odd that his nemesis Chun-Li seems to be recruiting for said tournament. If the movie is anything like the games, we expect to see Bison try to recruit Ryu and possibly Ken to his cause. He sees the dark power residing within these warriors, a power that can rival his own Psycho power.
Psycho Threshold.
Bison is probably the main villain of the new movie, but don't count out Roman Reigns' character Akuma. Akuma is another major antagonist from the games with deep connection to both Ryu.
I made a video a while back about the casting choice for Akuma as in Roman Reigns. I mean, I don't hate it, but I can deal with it. I mean, I mean, obviously Roman Reigns has the physique, you know, to be a Akuma and stuff like that. But Akuma's motives are not like Bison. Akuma doesn't really care for, you know, global domination in terms of, you know, Akuma is kind of like he's kind of like Ryu in a sense. Like he just wants to just max himself out, max his potential. The only difference is that, you know, Akuma he gave himself to the Satsu no Hado. He really wants to master and conquer the Satsu no Hado. He gave himself to it. Ryu didn't. Ryu doesn't welcome it. You know, he wants to, you know, master himself how he is, you know, in his natural state. So that's always kind of been an internal battle that Ryu has had, you know, in terms of his nature, you know, because the Satsu no Hado is within him. It's kind of like how Jin is in Tekken. You know, yeah, he has the devil, but he doesn't want the devil to conquer him. It's kind of like that, in strangely enough. But yeah, I don't see Akuma's motives to, and like I said, unless the story is solely based on Ryu, and you may throw Gouken in there, and Ryu has to overcome Akuma and stop Akuma and stuff like that. Maybe if that's the case, but if you throw Bison in there, Bison has to be, because if you, like I said, throwing Bison and Akuma in there, their motives are very different. You know, like just like you said, Shadaloo manipulates world governments. Akuma doesn't do that. Akuma doesn't do that. He's just some hermit guy like Ryu who's just training and wants to, you know, max out the power of nothingness. You know, the Satsu no Hado and stuff like that. That's all Akuma's motives is really. So I don't think he can be the villain of the story. He doesn't really need to be. It has to be Bison, right?
Ryu and Ken. Akuma is the subject of much fascination for Street Fighter fans, in part because he was introduced as a secret playable character in 1994's Super Street Fighter II Turbo. Akuma's name literally means demon or devil in Japanese, and he lives up to that name. He's the younger brother of Ryu and Ken's master Gouken, and he seeks to harness a dark power known as Satsui no Hado. Like Bison, he senses great and terrible potential in Ryu. We only briefly see Reigns' character in the trailer, but he's shown battling Ryu and tapping into his own dark energy to charge up his Empyrean's End super move. We expect that face-off to be one of the major set pieces of the film, but will Akuma be a major player in this conflict, or is this more a taste of things to come in a possible sequel?
I'm positive that a fireball came out of Ryu.
Street Fighter features another familiar WWE face in the form of Cody Rhodes, who plays the overconfident military man Guile. Guile was the central character in the first Street Fighter movie, but based on the trailer, it looks like he serves more of a supporting role this time around. Expect a lot of comic relief from this dude, and not.
And that's what I don't want. I don't want Guile to be the comic relief of anything. I really don't. You know, Guile was always a character who really took himself seriously. Like I said, I mean, he's a colonel in the Air Force, for goodness sake. So, I don't know. I just don't want to see Guile portrayed in that sort of light. You know, I want him to be taken seriously. I want him to, because like I said, his motive is kind of the same. It kind of is similar to Chun-Li. He wants to take down Bison, right? Maybe for different reasons. You know, Guile and his friend Chun-Li and her father, stuff like that. But I don't want to see any comic relief, because Guile's never really been like a cocky type of character. That was always Ken. So we don't really need Guile for that. So I think that's a mistake on their part. If Guile is a comic relief, the only comical thing about Guile really was his hair, to be honest with you. But it's something that we've always accepted. That was just his design in the game. We've always accepted it. So to see, you know, Cody playing Guile, I'm fine with that. But I'd rather see, you know, Guile to be portrayed in a more serious light. You know, I mean, that's just me, because that's who he is in the games. You know, he's always been kind of serious. He takes himself seriously. He demands, you know, respect. He commands respect and all this stuff. So I don't know. You know, I mean, we seen the flash kick right here. I mean, hopefully we see the sonic boom as well, and you know.
Just because of his ridiculous haircut. Guile is another series mainstay introduced in 1991's Street Fighter II, and like Chun-Li, he has a major grudge against M. Bison for the death of his partner, Charlie. One of the more intriguing casting choices in this movie is 50 Cent, who's been tapped to play elite boxer Balrog. If the costume and makeup don't make it obvious, Balrog is heavily modeled after real-world boxer Mike Tyson. In the games, Balrog is a disgraced fighter who joins Bison's Shadaloo organization. We see him battle.
For those who don't know, I mean, yeah, Balrog is based on Mike Tyson, but originally his name was going to be Mike Bison. Like originally, the Bison name was actually given to Balrog, and Bison's name, strangely enough, was Vega. I believe in the Japanese, version. Originally that was the original idea. But yeah, but Balrog was Bison and Bison was Vega. But I think that was just too on the nose. I never really knew what their reasoning why they changed it. But yeah, Balrog used to be Bison, and then Bison used to be Vega. Then they, switched it.
Battling Ken in the trailer, where it looks like he'll be one of the first real challenges this washed-up martial artist faces on the road to victory. Street Fighter gained some real star power with the casting of Jason Momoa as Blanca. Another iconic character introduced in 1991
that I did
Street
know.
Fighter 2, Blanca is also one of the most colorful and unusual characters in the game.
Annoying to fight.
As the story goes, he was once a guy named Jimmy who mutated after a plane crash and became an oversized green-skinned monster with the power to generate electricity.
I got good news, y'all. Gathered here are the world's best fighters.
Any global martial arts tournament worth its salt needs a good announcer, and that's the role being filled by Eric Andre's Don Savage. Savage is a flamboyant announcer and promoter inspired by pro wrestling personality Jimmy Hart. It appears he'll
Really, Dad, I didn't know either. I remember seeing Eric Andre in the trailer, but he's inspired by Jimmy Hart. See, and I think that's kind of why they threw, these wrestlers in there like Roman Reigns and Cody, because I think this is going to be very much like a wrestling spectacle in terms of the tournament. But the thing about the Street Fighter films, like everything that we've seen, yeah, you've always heard about the tournament, but you never really saw, tournament settings in Street Fighter. You mostly saw that in Tekken, really, the King of Iron Fist. But the World Warrior Champion tournament, whatever, in Street Fighter, you never really saw it. I mean, you may heard Ken talking about him competing in tournaments and building a name for himself and all that, but you never really saw it. It was just a bunch of, world-class characters from different countries, living their lives and just doing their own thing, and then they hear about Bison and his motives and what he tried to do. For example, in the original animated film, he had all these androids, whatever, scouting, scouting all these people and stuff like that, looking at their power levels and hopefully to bring them within his organization. So, I mean, yeah. So this is probably the first time that I know of where you actually see a tournament setting, and obviously Ken is going to take place in it. I mean, Balrog was a prize boxer, stuff like that, so you're going to see him in it and stuff like that. I remember we saw, like in the original film, we saw like Zangief and Blanca going at it, but I don't know if that was like a tournament. I think that was probably more just like a show, I guess, and they were going at it. But to see an actual tournament setup, I don't know, maybe there was some animated stuff or some side stuff back in the day that they did show, but for all of the Street Fighter stuff that I saw, I never really saw it. But even though so the tournament was going to be the MacGuffin anyway, it's kind of thrown in there, but it's not going to be the outline of what the story is about. It has to be stopping Shadaloo. It has to be. But yeah, he's based on the Mouth of the South. That's hilarious. So
will be providing play-by-play commentary for at least some of the matches in the film. It seems only fitting that the Street Fighter character known for always wearing a mask would be played by an actor infamous for rarely showing his face in public. Orville Peck is playing Vega, a graceful but very deadly fighter who wields Wolverine-like claws. Vega is known as the Spanish Ninja, as his fighting style combines elements of ninjutsu and bullfighting. Street Fighter characters don't get much bigger or more imposing than Zangief, who's played here by
Is he CGI or is he really built that way?
Zangief is a professional wrestler from Russia who's determined to prove his country's superiority by driving all challengers into submission. We see several larger-than-life feats of strength from Richter's character in the trailer, including an ultimate atomic crusher ultra technique.
See stuff like that. It looks very comical in a live-action sense. In a gaming sense, we accept it. In a live-action sense, it looks kind of comical. But I think we'll accept it because we know that it's from the game. Trailer,
but Hiroku Goto has been cast as Master Sumo wrestler E. Honda. Honda is another long-running Street Fighter character who dates back to 1991 Street Fighter 2. Rounding out the cast of Street Fighter 2 legends is Vijut Jamwal as Dhalsim. This Yogi and Mystic is one of the more unusual fighters in the games, as he can stretch his limbs in impossible ways. He's also a hardcore pacifist who only participates in the tournament to raise money for his impoverished village. We see Dhalsim at several points in the trailer, both fighting in the ring and being recruited by Chun-Li. Cammy is arguably the most popular Street Fighter character to debut after the initial batch of World Warriors, so we're not at all surprised to see her in the new movie. Cammy has proven very important to the mythology of the series, as she's been revealed to be one of M. Bison's
Character
former
I've also liked
assassins
playing as.
who loses her memory and becomes an MI6 agent.
Kylie Minogue.
We don't know how much the movie will get into that backstory though, as we mainly see Cammy acting as a foil to Chun-Li. Finally, how could we forget about Dan Hibiki, probably the most divisive character in the Street Fighter franchise. Dan is played by Andrew Schultz in the movie.
So that's who Andrew Schultz is going to be. He's Dan. Wow. I don't know about that casting choice, but like I said, that's very questionable. Do I like it? No, I don't. But if we see Schultz engage in combat, and he's wearing Dan's the pink gi and all that stuff, and we see a little bit of combat from him, I mean, that'd be fine, because Dan has always been a comic relief. Dan is the comic relief. He's the character that no one really takes seriously, right? So I mean, even though he was kind of fun to play with in Street Fighter 4, but wow, Andrew Schultz is Dan.
He too is a former student of Gouken, though unlike Ryu and Ken, he's pretty much all bluster and no substance. Don't expect him to make it very far in this tournament. Actually, it appears he may be Ken's manager rather than an active fighter himself.
Wow.
Those are the fighters you need to know before watching Street Fighter. What do you think of this upcoming video game movie? Does the trailer have you ready to...
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. Again, only time will tell. But in terms of presentation, videography, filmography, and I like how it looks from a standpoint, like from a vanity standpoint, cosmetics. I love the costumes, the color, But I really think this is gonna be a spectacle, but it's gonna come out very humorous and just in certain ways, and like I said, it's tough. It's not easy to translate a video game into a live action film. It's not easy. I mean, you really have to tone things down a little bit, and I think that was the success of the Mortal Kombat films. Especially in the 90s and stuff like that. I seen the latest Mortal Kombat film, the one that came out. I enjoyed it. It was cool. I mean, there were certain things that I didn't like. I mean, I didn't like how Outworld looked. If you look how Outworld looked in the first two films, how it had that dark, gritty. It was kind of like shades of blue, shades of purple, and stuff like that. I just liked how Outworld looked in the first two films. I didn't care for how it looked in the latest film. But Sub-Zero was a force to be reckoned with in that film. I loved his character. I wanted to see more of Scorpion. Shang Tsung, he was okay, even though Shang Tsung was always my my favorite, but he was all right. And that one character that they threw in there, I don't even remember the guy's name. He was but it was okay. It was fine. But yeah, Street Fighter, man. Like I said, I can accept the casting choices. I can accept the way the costumes and the wardrobe and all the moves that we're gonna see. Even the bonus stages they throw in there, I can accept all that. I just want the story to be intact in terms of Shadaloo being the syndicate that they have to break down. So hopefully that's Chun-Li's motive, and mainly Gao's motive as well. Them two coming together to gather all these people against a common enemy. So hopefully that will be the gist of the story, because I don't understand. I don't see what else they could do besides that. I mean, if you throw Bison in there, that has to be the story. If Bison's not in there, then you can do what you want. Maybe Akuma could be the big baddie. Again, Akuma's motives is not like Bison's though. So, I mean, I forgot that film years ago. I think they kind of kept it strictly Ryu and Ken. I think Gouken was in it. I can't even. I never saw it, but I don't think all of the characters were in it. I think it was just Ryu and Ken in there, and I think maybe Akuma was in there. I don't know. I forget what that Street Fighter film was called. But yeah, man, I mean, I think overall, I'll see it somewhere. I mean, I haven't been in a theater in over a decade now. It's been a while. But I'm sure I'll come across this and watch it somewhere online somewhere. I think I'll enjoy it for what it is. I think this is going to be a film that won't take itself too seriously, but I think that's going to be the intention. I think the intention, they want to be taken seriously, but I think a lot of it is going to come out not so serious because of the way that, you know, some of the choreography looks, and then of course of the you know, the CGI, and of course some of the I don't know. For example, when you saw Zangief, he do the double suplex on Ken. Well, I think that was Ken. He did on it. It comes out humorous in a live action sense. That's just my opinion. I mean, it's just certain things that you don't have to do from the games. I understand why they're doing it, because they want to pay homage to the game, right? So I can accept it. It's just the execution of it is kind of funny, because you know it's not humanly possible to see that in a live action sense. But like I said, this is a film. You can do what you want. So I think overall, I think people will be okay with it overall. You know, of course, you're going to have those hardcore guys that be like, no, this is a piece of garbage. I mean, there are just certain people that you're never going to please, regardless of what you do. But I think overall, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. I think people will like it overall, you know, because if you're a Street Fighter fan and you want to, you know, support, and you want to, you know, root for Street Fighter no matter how it comes out, I think there's going to be a side. I think there's going to be a side of people that be like, you know, it's okay. Was it great? No, but it's okay. It's passable, I guess you can say. And I think that would be me, because I'm easy on films anyway. And it's rare you're going to hear me say, oh, that film's garbage. I always get entertainment out of every film that I see, because I watch films for very technical reasons as well. I know a lot of people are just strictly story. They may be, you know, strictly, you know, film cinematography and stuff like that. But I focus on all that stuff. I watch films for very technical reasons. So technically, but for some reason, because this is based on a video game, I'm not so concerned technical wise for this. I'm really not, based on what I've seen, you know, how the moves and, you know, the combat's going to look. I can accept it. So it's mainly what the story is going to be. Hopefully Shadaloo would be, you know, the obstacle that they have to overcome, because I don't see them going in the other route of, you know, how to, you know, dish that out. But y'all, I've rambled long enough about this, man. I just wanted to put my, you know, 31 cents in there, and just to put my opinion out there about this. I think overall it'll be okay. But all right, y'all, 31 cents added. Another one for the archives. It's your brother Bleak signing out. Until next time, you guys. Os.